Welcome to another Life Group series with Watermark Church. I am so glad that you are hopefully meeting somebody else's house or in your own house and being together with some people you know, maybe some people you don't know, but to come together and have fellowship and do this life together is awesome. And so we're so excited that you are joining us. And we are starting a new series called Greater. And the whole idea of greater is, of course, we start by saying God is greater. He's greater in our life, and His name is great. He's worthy of our worship. But also, He's called you to greater things. What is the greatest? It's interesting as we even look in the sports world. There is a word that we use called GOAT, the greatest of all time. Some people argue who is the greatest NBA player, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, or somebody else. Who is the greatest golfer, Who is the greatest hockey player, Wayne Gretzky, Jim Boo? Who is the greatest of all time? And so there's all these different who is the GOAT. But what I love about this is it's what Scripture says. The GOAT, the greatest of all time, is Jesus Christ. The great. One of the verses we're going to use to this whole series, I'm going to read to you this. It's found in John chapter 3, verse 30. It says this: He must become greater, I must become less. I don't even want to dive into this yet. I want you to dive into this. I want you to think this and talk this over with your group. And look at this verse that He must become greater, I must become less. What does this verse say to you? Welcome back. Hopefully discuss what that means to you. It's interesting because when a verse says He must become greater, when we look at that in our own life, that's almost like a decision. He must become greater in you. I'm not saying that you think down on yourself, but there comes a point where He needs to be greater in your own life. If He's the GOAT, the greatest of all time, there's some amazing things about that. There's a word I want us to know, it's incarnation. The word incarnation actually means that God became man. God became human. That it wasn't just that He was fully God, but He was fully God and fully human. I feel like this is a big deal, and we really don't talk about that very often, but when we're talking about the greatest of all time, we're talking about that Jesus had two natures. He had the nature of His deity, His God, but He also had the nature of His humanity. It's interesting as you look at this, even in our own humanity, the things that we struggle with. Have you ever thought about this with Jesus? That Jesus was born a baby, that Mary had to change His diapers, that maybe He was teased when He was little, maybe He tripped, and can you imagine Mary having help His wounds as a young kid? Do you think she had pictures of the future as she was helping Him get better? I think about, did you think He ever had scary dreams at night and run downstairs and wake up the parents? Is there a certain food that Jesus never liked to eat? What was His favorite food? It's interesting as we look at all these things, we start thinking about, we think about, yes, He is the Lord, but also I think as in His humanity. I think it's important for us to grasp that. The reason this is important is because He went through what we go through. He felt isolation. He felt loneliness. He felt pain. He felt rejection. He felt the wounds. He also felt the joy. He also had good conversations. He felt similar with people. He had the good connection. He was maybe sick. What we do know for sure is Jesus had no sin. That even though he was faced with temptation, he was the only one without sin. He had no sin in his life, but we can't forget that he was fully God and fully human. I love that because I just want to read this. This is a theology professor once said it this way: remaining what he was, he became what he was not. He became something. He went from his deity to our humanity. He had to do this. I'm just going to pause right here because I want everybody to open up your Bibles and read Hebrews chapter 2, 14 through 18. Hebrews chapter 2, 14 through 18. Hopefully that verse sheds some light on a little bit on this, but I think it's amazing to say. It says, he became human to break the power of death in our life. He became human, that he not left his deity, that his became human in the midst of his deity to become human. So we're going to take a pause again. I want you to ask this question within your group. How does Jesus's humanity change the way you think and feel about Jesus? How does his humanity change and make you feel about who Jesus is? As we dive in this last part of this, we talked about being fully human, but he's also fully God. It's interesting because Jesus not merely is someone like God. He's not just someone like, to God. But he is. He's human, but he is God. The interesting story I want to share with everybody about this is this: when Jesus calms the storm. He goes with the disciples in the boat and he goes to the other side of the lake or the sea, and there's a storm that appears. I love this story because it actually reveals Jesus' humanity and Jesus' deity. It says that he actually goes in the front of the boat and takes a nap. What's more human than that? That you are tired, that you need rest. It says that Jesus is in the front of the boat sleeping. As he's sleeping, the storm comes and the disciples are scared, and they start saying, we need to wake up Jesus because we're gonna go down. And so of course they draw straws to figure out who's gonna wake up Jesus, and one of them goes and wakes him up. He wakes up from his slumber probably irritated. His humanity. If it was me, I'd be like, dude, why are you waking me up? And he says, why are you waking me up? And they say, there's a storm. And he looks at him and says, you of little faith. And then he reaches out and he commands the storm. He says, peace, be still. And it says that even the waves and the storm obey him. And that's his deity. In the beginning, it shows his humanity, that this guy needs sleep. And the story continues to show who he is as Lord, that even the waves obey him. I think this is a big deal for us, because that be still and know is actually taken also from the verse in the Old Testament that says, be still and know that I am the Lord. That he is, that it's not you, but it's on him, that he is the Lord. And that means the truth about it is we are humans, but he was human with the deity. That it could only have been Jesus that died for you. It could only have been the sacrifice of someone who is the Lord, but also someone who struggled with humanity and had that, who became the sacrifice of all. I love it because he says, be still and know that I am God. The truth about that is saying, if he is God, that means I'm not. God says, I am. And so I just want to do this. How can we, the last question, how can we make God fully God in my life today? So many times we try to do our own thing, and maybe we try to take God here or here or here. But how can I make him fully God in my life today? How can I surrender more? How can I make him fully in charge and say, God, you can say to him, be still, Jarvis, and know that I am God and you are not.